Obviously, my name is Gerhard BRUYNS. I'm by training an architect, and I finished my studies in South Africa before moving to the Netherlands, where I did a Master's of Science degree in urbanism, and then directly after that continued to do a PhD in the same field, also in Delft. I studied there. After completing the PhD, I kept on working, and then in 2013 I applied for a teaching position here in the School of Design at PolyU, and then just made the move over to Hong Kong. Now, I think what is important is that we really make a difference between how we teach in design and how we teach in maybe other disciplines like engineering, mathematics, or even law, for example. You know, when you teach design, it takes on a different relationship between the tutor and the student. A lot of the formality of the setting is removed. It's not a lecture format where you have 300 students sitting in front of you. It's you as a lecturer having more one-on-one conversations or conversations with smaller groups. So the format of design education is really directed at, if we talk about the tutor to the student relationship, very direct. Then second of all, the nature of what you teach is also very different, because you don't teach formulas or you don't teach rules. You teach questions to problem statements. How would you solve a certain issue? What would the design idea be in order to overcome this problem? And then when you do that, what would you draw from various fields in design to inform your own way of changing a material practice? And I think that is important. So maybe even a lot of engineers would say, well, we talk more about ideas, and that might be so. But from a design perspective, we still think that it's about the material sciences that you have to discuss through with the students. What I can also say is, what is important for us is that when you start from the first meeting you have with that cohort, you have to make them aware of where they are in the system of the education. I mean, there's a big difference between undergraduate, postgraduate or master's, and then of course PhD studies. So it means that making them aware of what the requirements are is actually very, very useful. If you tell an undergraduate student, well, look, your goal here is to actually understand the basic ideas of design or certain professional skill that will be informed by technology, then that makes their task way easier. If I talk to master's students, you know, I have to position that in saying, you are one level above undergrad and you are one level below PhD. So your skill sets now have to change into critical capacities of being much more aware of a wider scope within the field, and then making methodological selections from that and say, or rather choose which one is best suited to your problem. And then of course when you get to the PhD level, the question is, we change it again, because it means you have to contribute certain levels of knowledge. So by really differentiating at that level, students respond quite well, and they really understand the task at hand. I mean, something else that I also think is important is that because we don't necessarily operate in a lecture format, but we use in a studio, it means that, you know, studios are messy, but also means that students want to have a little bit more informality. So they want to approach the tutors very directly. You will also hear that a lot of the tutors, when students talk to them, it will be on a first name basis. It just changes the nature of allowing them that freedom to raise a question whenever they think a question is, you know, is needed, and that the tutors will much more easier respond to those questions. So I also think it's part of who you are as a tutor or an educator versus where you teach these things and what you teach. It really changes the nature of this whole ecology. That's at least in my view. Yeah. I think the students leave with a sense of self-awareness and being aware of what they do, cannot just be done for the sake of doing it, but it has a level of being critical about your work, understanding the nature of your work. I see students leave here with a sense that they can really tackle a lot of problems, and that they don't shy away from any challenge. We have students who leave here who go into planning offices. We have students who go into design offices. We have students who become entrepreneurs who do it all by themselves. We have students who decide to abandon that totally and take the design thinking and apply it into a total different field. I mean, recently I had a student come up to me and say, well, thank you for helping me think through the problem of design, but I've now decided to become a chef, and that is what I will now apply in how I think about food and cuisine and nutrition. So it's very interesting that those things, when students leave the design school, at least for me, that they must be able to tackle and stand open to any challenges that come their way. And I think all the tutors here appreciate that a lot, and that they really have that energy for design, and they keep that energy. And we get a lot of students who come back and say, well, I remember that, what you said in the class, and we had a lot of respect for that, and we take that and we apply it in our own practices somewhere else. So that, for me, that's already a good enough indicator. If students respect who you are, and if you respect the position of the students, then it makes it much easier to understand the dialectical position of both educator and student. I always say, if you respect me for my opinion, then of course I will respect you fully for your opinion. And I'm very happy to hear your opinion, but I'm also very happy to hear your difference of opinion, and that we can actually have a discussion about it. And even though we might not agree about the same thing, you have the right to say it. So that is very important. And I think students, or in the educational sense, it really shows. And that's what I firmly believe in.